trade.
It's Bloomberg Money.
This is the trade.
This is Wall Street Week. Welcome to Balance of Power.
You're watching Bloomberg Deal. Listen to Bloomberg this weekend. This is Bloomberg Television.
AI stocks getting pummeled once again as investors look for returns on investment, but one stock in particular standing out as a winner. Sarah Hunt writes that we have seen several of these AI wobbles and recoveries from them, but it's hard to miss that while these stocks are seeing a drawdown, Apple has reached new highs. Alpine Saxon Woods chief market strategist Sarah Hunt joins us. So is it the time for Apple to recover its mantle, Sarah, between now and when it starts releasing all of these new products that we're waiting?
Well, I think that you saw a large period of underperformance for a while, while all the other stocks that were so exciting because of AI and people kept criticizing them because of their strategy. I think at the moment that is not the problem for the other stocks, are not the problem for Apple. Apple is now, because it's got a hardware cycle coming and because people still look at it in that way, I think they're looking at AI as something that it can solve. The question is how exactly are they going to solve it? But at the moment, the excitement is not about that right now. And they haven't done to the same extent to their balance sheet what some of the other companies have done in raising cash to spend all that money.
So Apple may be a bright spot in the AI trade, but what do you make of the AI trade? Because as much as, these companies obviously have a real business proposition, they're also really whiplashed by a lot of headlines quite easily. Overnight we saw the Chinese AI startup Moonshot, and now you see the global chip sell-off affecting US equities.
Well, it reminds me a lot, and not surprisingly, of the DeepSeek moment too, which was like, this is all going to upend everything and everything's going to change. And then the question is, how is they being trained? And is that the same thing? I don't know the underneath answer to all of that. I do think that there was some vulnerability just on how much these stocks had run and what people were pricing in from a linear standpoint about earnings. And I think that there is going to be a question exactly both on the cadence of how fast you can build data centers and how fast everything can be put to work. And it may be that you see a little bit of a slowdown, but you're also seeing companies getting punished for CapEx now, where they used to be rewarded. So there may be a silver lining in the fact that it slows down a little bit. We just have to sort of see how that plays out. And I'm not sure that the question on the business model continues to be, what is it? Is it token prices? Is it this? Is it that? And I don't think we know the answer yet.
And we also don't fully know, and maybe investors don't even know what they want. Do they want continued spending, or would they actually in the end prefer if some of these hyperscalers and other companies were a little bit more reticent to spend and maybe pull back on some CapEx funds?
Well, and that's where I think that there might be, it doesn't feel like a silver lining, but there may be in the slowing of a cadence to spend. I think that the debt offerings have not been as well received as some of the equity offerings because there's a limitation there about how much that can run. And I think that there may be some CapEx exhaustion that you're seeing. And if it becomes a more regular cadence that you can say is repeatable as opposed to it has to go up by 40% every year, that might be more acceptable from an investor standpoint. But I think, again, we're in that space where the stocks have run so much, it's not a surprise to see some profit taking. And it's also really, we continue to look for what exactly the business model is going to be and how we can gauge whether or not that ROI is coming in. And I think that question is just going to continue.
Where then are you seeing compelling pockets of growth in this space, other than maybe the AI trade?
Well, interestingly, there's a whole bunch of places that are trying to catch up, right? You're looking at places like healthcare. You're looking at places like financials. You're seeing a big interest in biotechs. You're seeing some very early stage companies either get bought by larger companies and or people are starting to look at that space again. We look at instrumentation in a company like Danaher. We look at cash flow for companies that are managing to thrive in an environment where it's not just dependent on one spending track. And I think that there are parts of the market that have been ignored in favor of the AI trade, and you may see some money start to rotate back into them. There's been a lot of rotation in this market.
And of course, we have to keep our eye on inflation because hostilities are escalating once
I'm
again.
not seeing this shit online.
There was a big relief
Application.
when oil prices went down. There were some great we got some very good numbers. There's no stability to those numbers with the price of oil coming back over $80 and getting closer to 90 on Brent. And I think that that's something that the market had decided for itself, and investors had decided that this was going to happen this way, and then it did, and there was some relief in that. And I think there's some real concern now on the inflation front and whether or not that's going to do anything from the Fed's perspective. I think it's hard to raise rates and think that that's going to solve this particular inflation problem, but it doesn't mean that those odds don't change. And as those odds change, that makes investors very nervous.
Certainly, the July almost pretty priced out of this market, but not potentially for the rest of the year. All right, Sarah Hunt, Hunt is sticking around with us. We're going to get a quick check of the market before the opening bell. Obviously, equity indices pointing to a lower open. Do you mind being called an ideological lunatic or a bunch of left-wing nut jobs?
I've been called worse things than that.
Oh, you think she owned the place?
23andMe, I think, is so incredibly valuable. We're coming back. It had that kind of detective story feel to it, when you're hot on the trail of something, you know that it's very exciting. What magazines were you reading as a kid? I don't think I was reading magazines until I was in them. You are on the cover of all of these. Oh, and there's many, many more, but we just don't have time. Why should people
Starting route to try.
trust any company or entity?
Head north on Berkeley Hall.
It's very uncomfortable. Artificial intelligence is this force that is far bigger than we are.
Want to build better businesses around these brands. The shock will never wear off.
Welcome to Bloomberg This Weekend. I'm David Durrell.
I'm Lisa Mateo. I'm Christine Ruffini. We're tracking breaking news today from Wall Street to Washington.
Introducing Bloomberg This Weekend, bringing a little Bloomberg into your weekend routine. Watch, listen, stream.
Bringing you the latest geopolitical news whenever and wherever it happens. I'm David Durrell. This is Marty Uni, Olivia, and this is Bloomberg.
Moments away from the start of trading and what's very likely to be a down Friday for equities. This is Bloomberg Open Interest. I'm Bonnie Quinn, and as you can see, we are pointed lower. And as we wait for the beginning of equities to start trading, I can tell you very much down now. A chill in the air thanks to chip stocks. Not though, perhaps for those who are ringing the opening bells, who have waited some time to do this. And we're looking at a couple of companies that are involved in the fusion and nuclear spaces. So if we take a look at the New York Stock Exchange, there you have Standard Nuclear ringing the opening bell today with big bright smiles, even though it might be a down day for stocks. And then we had this man on the show just a few days ago. In fact, on the occasion of his IPO, Greg Twinney of General Fusion, it went public via SPAC just the other day. GFuzz was the ticker, GFUZ, and high fives all around because it did pop the first day by 21%.
I do love when I look at those shots because everyone is indeed so happy. But maybe the markets, to your point, Bonnie, is not that happy today. You're looking at red on the screen across the board for me. We have the AI trade really showing signs of fatigue as sky-high valuations leave little room for disappointment. And investors are weighing a new threat overnight that came out. The AI model from China called Moonshot has been pressure spending and profits across the sector. You're looking at NVIDIA down by more than 2%. Sandisk even lower by nearly 4%. And advanced micro devices or AMD down by nearly 4%. So really red across the screen, Bonnie.
All right, Isabel, thank you. Netflix plunging after forecasting slower growth and higher costs for new programming efforts, including live events. We're back with Alpine Saxon Woods Chief Market Strategist Sarah Hunt. So, Sarah, next week ticks lower, but it's just another example of investors really punishing a stock that doesn't match expectations. It's going to be a great earnings season. It's already been a great earnings season. Why are investors so demanding?
Well, I think that this is just a sign of the fact that people are very willing to step away from something where you think that there's a disappointment. I think that for Netflix, it started with the whole arguing over who was going to buy Warner, like that whole thing sort of took the directional question as where they were going. And I think, I mean, anecdotally, I've just heard people complain about how long the next season comes to come when you've got a season that people are involved in and the content and switching to more live. I mean, I think that it's a question of strategic direction and whether or not there's some issues there. But I mean, other metrics are very good for Netflix, right? So it's not like there's something terrible happening here. It's just that expectations were sky high and they've come down a bit. And that punishment right now is people are moving out of stocks at this point and moving into the stocks that they think are going to do better very rapidly.
I want to pivot a little bit to the Fed. So markets are seem to be pricing in a tougher Fed under Fed Chair Kevin Warsh. Do you think investors are overestimating inflation risk, or maybe they're underestimating a growth potential in the economy?
That's sort of been the argument for the last year or so, right? Which is where would the economy be if it wasn't for the Iran war? Where would the economy be if it wasn't for some of the things that were limiting it? I think that we have to collectively, investors are looking at what is the reaction function of the Fed going to be? What is the cadence of communication going to be? And how are we going to be able to understand as the data comes in, both what the Fed is looking at and how they feel about what they're looking at. And all of these changes are ones that are probably necessary, but they're also ones that are in the near term take away from what we looked at as historical relationships, because we're now looking to see what data they want to use more seriously.
I want to point out that it looks like the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index is about to enter a technical bear market, although bear in mind it's up still 99% year over year, right? So that's the thing, we've had some massive gains, but there had been this rotation trade that was really, taking some investor money away, or at least some of these profits, right? Does that resume once we get over this whole, market wobble with the stocks?
It's going also to depend on what happens with some of the big AI IPOs, which people have talked about, right? Are we going to get some of those large IPOs? Because you could argue that maybe some of the rotation is people coming out of one place and going into another. But then you look at where SpaceX has landed, which is now below their IPO price. And it's hard to say exactly where that rotation is going to come. I do think that there will be a relief if people start to feel like they understand how spending is going to go. And right now that question is, have we been counting on too much spending and it's going to come down, and what is that going to do? But these stocks have moved so much, it seems reasonable to take some money off the table and then sort of recalibrate. And I think that that's where we are. And then any bad news or any news that makes it look like, what are we going to do with this model? It just exacerbates that. So I would not be surprised to see sort of like it start to roll back into favor, but we sort of have to see what happens in the next couple months.
We have this red headline just now: Apple overtaking Nvidia to become the world's most valuable company. So that's quite a headline we're seeing. And earlier you enumerated the bull case for Apple. You highlighted why it is a bright spot in the AI trade. Maybe talk to us a little bit about the bear case. Like, what could make this reverse?
Well, I think for Apple specifically, so I think that any problems with unit growth or any of the issues that people have been looking at now, it's like, okay, well, if the hardware is good news, then it better have good news on hardware. They've got a lot of stuff coming out. There could be a question about timing. I think just in general, again, people are looking to stay with the companies that have massive cash flow, that are not necessarily spending that cash flow. And what happened to the rest of the Mag 7 is that they started spending all that cash flow. So I think that people are looking for that. But again, if you see expectations, this is a market that is running on a lot of high expectations. And if expectations are not met, and or people have things to say about the future that are less secure, I think that's going to give people pause.
So I want to point out that Sweet Green is actually just charging ahead. It's up almost 17% right now. So I guess the whole idea that it is not Taco Bell and that is a potential Taco Bell solo problem is helping here. But it does bring to mind the question of the consumer. How healthy is the consumer, Sarah? I mean, we saw some of the luxury names really outperform this quarter so far. And curious, is the K-shaped economy still very much in place?
I think it is. I mean, and I think that that's, the cohort that has the most trouble with higher gas prices, the cohort that has the most trouble with inflation is not the highest spending cohort, which is why you see luxury outperforming. You sort of see the other side of that because it's the stuff in the middle that has more trouble. And I think that the consumer is generally speaking fairly healthy, but I also think you're starting to see people dip into savings. You're starting to see credit card balances go higher. And all of that is a little bit of a question about, okay, so what is that spend going to be? You may see spending elevated because people are worried about memory price things. So you're starting to buy, you're looking, maybe I'll buy a laptop now instead of in 6 months because I don't know where prices are going to be. So I think that there may be an acceleration because of concerns about different
It's too
layers.
top store. It's not already up there.
It's too late for the laptops, but it's that idea of inflation pulls forward spending, right?
Yeah.
Because you're worried that it's going to be more expensive later. And when I saw that announcement, I had done that almost a year ago. I was like, no, I kind of need a new laptop. I'm gonna just do this before things get worse. But I do think that whether or not that pulls forward too much and then you get a backlash to that is something that remains to be seen. But that higher end consumer is driving most of consumer spending, and that higher end consumer is doing fairly well.
We have another headline, which is SpaceX set to wipe 1 trillion from their peak value, about a 40% drop. A lot of headlines because you were here on set with us, Sarah. Maybe just very briefly for 1 minute or even less. Talk to us about the M&A, the IPO pipeline. I mean, we have Anthropic waiting in the wings and maybe OpenAI, and these are valued very, very richly. Is that evidently going to bite us afterwards?
Well, so this is a different cycle. We haven't had an IPO cycle in a long time. There are a lot of companies that didn't go public in the way that most of us who have been around for longer than we'd like to admit took the time to go public or came public earlier. So there is this whole question about what does that mean for valuations and what does that mean for the market. The fact that we haven't had an IPO cycle in a long time also says that we've had a lot of money that has been concentrated as companies, buy each other and buy back their shares. So maybe the market does need some new blood in there in terms of the IPO. The question is those valuations and that richness. And a lot of that is predicated on things that we can't quite linearly extrapolate at this moment, but there's an awful lot of excitement about it. So there is a push-pull to that, and I think that you saw that with SpaceX, and it's also like they're not putting all that supply out on the market at once. So the question is the scarcity factor enough for investors to keep chasing that? And the answer is we are waiting to see how that plays out in the next few months and the next year. I think there's a lot that's going on that's very exciting. I think investors get excited by that, but there's also a question, to your point, of how much of that valuation is already in there before they even go public.
Yeah. All right. Well, Sarah, it's been a morning. Thank you so much. Good luck with your Friday trading. That is Sarah Hunt of Alpine Woods. Let's get a check on the stock market right now because it's going to be a deep red day. It feels like about half and half in terms of higher and lower, but the ones that are lower in terms of stocks are potentially the most important ones when it comes to the weighting in the index, right? So you have all of the semiconductors, 28 out of 30 in the Philly Semiconductor Index are lower right now, and the ones that are higher are just barely holding on to gains. And you have all of the mags, 7, you have just tech in general, with the exception of Apple, as we were talking about a moment ago, performing badly. Here on the other side, you have, some consumer staples, for example, Walmart. You have some of the oil companies on higher oil, ExxonMobil and so on. Some of the health insurers and biotech stocks, United Health and Eli Lilly, with a little bit of a halo effect after earnings. And then obviously some of the companies that didn't suffer from the problems that we saw Taco Bell suffer from are also higher today, and they make up some of the 284 companies right now that are higher in the S&P 500. But if you look at sectors, it's probably more obvious because we do have all of the chip-related tech sectors all lower. Financials index actually giving some back this week after some great earnings. And then outperforming, you have energy and consumer staples, utilities, healthcare, all of the ones that benefit from higher oil prices, and perhaps a consumer that's hanging in there just a little bit better than we expected. All right, coming up, Citi's Jason Bazinet talks about the disappointing outlook for Netflix amid a major shift in the media landscape. This is Bloomberg Open Interest.
we should not deny that change is coming. And change is not coming just in data centers and AI. As a world, we are building infrastructure, we're building energy, we're doing energy transmission, we're building next gen manufacturing, we're ramping defense, and we're doing this thing called AI and data. We will see the largest need for capital ever. And that's what we've seen so far this year. And so now to your specific question, it's about underwriting. There are a number of very strong US tech companies who run diversified businesses, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, who are interested in seeing these centers built and are interested in not consolidating the debt on their balance sheet. And to the extent they are prepared to lend their credit, one can lend against those types of things and make sensible underwriting decisions.
Technology is embedded in every aspect of our lives, and that revolution is playing out in real time. From finance to defense tech, AI to entertainment, from the road to the stars. Bloomberg is bringing you the stories of companies and people that are pushing tech to new frontiers and the politics reshaping global tech markets. I'm Ed Ludlow, live in San Francisco, and this is Bloomberg Tech. Every weekday, only on Bloomberg Television.
Bringing you up to the minute geopolitical news whenever and wherever it happens. I'm Tyler Kendall in Geneva, Switzerland, and this is Bloomberg.
Key investors, top executives, global innovators. Join me for in-depth conversations with the biggest newsmakers on the day's top stories. Insights with Haslun Khan, only on Bloomberg.
Welcome to Bloomberg This Weekend. I'm David Gura.
I'm Lisa Mateo. I'm Christina Rafiti. We're tracking breaking news today from Wall Street to Washington. Let's start overseas with really propelling this deal forward.
Yeah, the hope is this will open up new markets and provide some additional liquidity.
Of course, now they're going to have competitors. We got a big week coming up in politics.
Earnings season is underway. Some key reports.
Everything you need to know before the markets open on Monday.
Introducing Bloomberg This Weekend, bringing a little Bloomberg into your weekend routine.
Guys, buckle on.
And it's time now for our top calls. Some of the analyst action in focus this morning. First up, JP Morgan upgrading 3M, saying growth is starting to take shape thanks to AI data center demand that's spilling into other parts of the economy. Next up, a good day for Apple as it overtakes NVIDIA to become the world's most valuable company. It's also getting upgraded at HSBC, of course, the firm saying Apple has a stronger product lineup coming and better AI tools. And finally, a down day for Netflix, down almost 10% now after a weak third quarter guidance overshadowed an inline quarter. Jefferies saying today the report strengthens the bear case as growth and engagement slow. Evercore ISI pointing to softer revenue and profit guidance. Piper Sandler saying investors are focused on slowing growth. Isabel.
Let's discuss Netflix further with Citi Media and Entertainment Research Analyst Jason Bazinet. He has a buy rating with a $100 price target on the stock. Jason, thank you for joining us. It's really a great day to talk about Netflix, but maybe not so much with the stock down. But do you think that Netflix still has major growth runway, or maybe are the easy days of gains behind Netflix?
Well, the bears are certainly in charge, and when we speak to institutional investors, they want to put sort of a traditional, PE multiple on this, or something in the low teens, and that seems to be the direction of travel. What I suggest to clients is there's quite a few levers that Netflix has at their disposal that are sort of underappreciated. The company talked about in their public call about new high-end tiers, new low-end tiers. So I could imagine things like paying extra to binge watch, right? And not giving that to every consumer for free, charging premiums for early access to their films. And so there are absolutely levers that they have at their disposal. Is the growth going to reaccelerate? I don't think so, but can it stay in this, double-digit range for a number of years? I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a great point. I think a lot of people would pay a little extra to be able to binge watch, or just, they would tell themselves they wouldn't do it, but just to have the option there, right? So, I mean, obviously these are things that the company is thinking about, and it's implemented so many new things. Why would it have a problem implementing these new things, Jason? Why are investors losing confidence?
Well, on this particular quarter, I think they lost confidence because Netflix is very carefully trained the buy side to sort of follow this simple algorithm, which is Netflix spends money on content, they drive
Another sweeping topic on NASDAQ as they drill lower while the S&P puts in new highs. Incredibly difficult to manage a correlated trade when both of them are doing such an aggressive divergence. Some of the most aggressive divergences I've ever seen in the past week. Is NASDAQ going to catch up to the S&P, or is the S&P going to catch down to the NASDAQ? That's the question. That is the question, my friends. I sound like Trump? Do I? Do I sound like Trump? Usually my Trump impressions are pretty terrible. Some would say the most aggressive divergence we've ever seen. China, we could blame the divergence on China. All right, we're coming up again on NASDAQ. There's no volume and the candles look very weak. Are we going to get a breach of the 3Cs? We need a 3C trigger to get me into a long position. Otherwise, I'm not taking a long position. I don't get the warm and fuzzies like I did yesterday. Are we going to do it or not? The NASDAQ is rocketing, baby. The 3Cs will lead you to the right direction. Gold, beautiful 3C. NASDAQ, we're still waiting on a 3C. Can they do it now? Can they do it now? So if you're using Trade Evade with Take Profit Trader, you're just screwed to get out of position. Yeah, but that's a Trade Evade issue, not with Take Profit Trader. So Trade Evade in general is having major issues the past 2 days. They put out a bunch of releases last night, press releases, saying that Trade is having some severe issues with their platform. So avoid trading if you're using Trade Evade. About every 6 months they do that. They have some sort of crazy data issues where you can't even use the platform. That's why I don't use Trade Evade. Trade Evade convenient, it's simple, but it's not reliable. And I've had too many issues in the past where they made me rely on them. Now, unfortunately, I'm forced to use them when I go live with TPT. When they put me in a live account, you have to use TPT or Trade Evade. All right, there's another rejection off this area. You see where the 3C trigger is. That's why I'm looking to close above that level. Otherwise, you're going to get rejected. I have no volume. I have no 3C close over the 512. Now, is this the technical 3C indicator? For right now, it is, yes. Because we're on the 5 minute, we still have another 10 for, no, we should have, yeah, we have about 7 minutes until this 5 minute candle closes, which it should be pretty much the same high as the last one. So you see how aggressive this 510 level actually is. It's weird these data issues happen a lot during the big downturns. Yes, sir, you're 100% right about that. 100% right about that. We're starting to see some call buying, put selling here. The S&P is much more bullish. Look at that. The S&P just bounced and rocketed to new highs while the NASDAQ is kind of pittering out down here and lose. Gold, beautiful 3C trigger. Well done if you took that trade. Oil is coming into resistance. I hate low volume bounces. Let me know. Tasty trade, V2 trading is slow. It sounds like some BS if you're relying on something that doesn't work. Your money should be tied to it. Your money's tied to it. Yeah. That's why I don't trade Evade, man. It's not reliable. They're frequently having bad problems like that. I use Rhythmic data and Quant Tower. The only issue with Rhythmic is that every now and then you'll get a data aggregation craziness going on there. But that's not a quant tower thing. That's just arrhythmic. That happens with all arrhythmic when things go crazy. NASDAQ 50%. Yes, sir. Right there. Right off the 50. Right off the 50. And blast through it. And blast through it. Are they going to blast through it? I'm waiting for volume, and we still haven't had a lot of aggressive volume spikes here. They rejected the 51 time, and then they regathered and launched. Regathered and launched. Still going here. NASDAQ probably going to regather up to the high. All the way up. Boom. Now we're going, baby. Now we're going. Now we're going. Launch pad. Launch pad. Always waiting to buy the dip, man. Buy the dip is so reliable that it's hard to even look for short positions. Even on such aggressive short moves like that, the dip is always waiting in the ranks, just waiting to just rocket launch. Waiting to rocket launch, baby. We're just going. We're doing the same thing, squeezy price action again. Now we went down, we gathered, and now they're doing that thing where it's up, up, and away. No top wicks, no regathering. It's just launch mode. The bears had their 30 seconds fun in the sun. Now the bulls are taking back control, baby. Just going. Rocket launch. Going. Going, baby. Straight up. Straight freaking up. That's why we do this, baby. We're waiting to buy the dip. We're waiting to buy the dip, baby. We're waiting to buy the dip. No shorting. No shorting. Shorting is a fool's errand. It's a fool's errand. All the way up, baby. Shorting is a fool's errand. Nearly impossible to make money consistently if you're shorting. Only by the dip. That's all there is to it, baby. That's all there is to it. Way up. Straight down, straight up. A V, no regathering, no nothing. Just straight down and straight up. Straight down and straight up. Not the best price action in terms of volume here. No volume spikes whatsoever. Just lazy price action. Lazy price action. Like China. Basically a perfect V. Yep. Yep. So NASDAQ is catching up to the S&P. That was your signal there with the S&P freaking flying like that, going straight up. The market is green except for tech. Tech is the only thing right now that's even showing weakness, although it's strong weakness. So of course, NASDAQ bounces and flies, baby, going up to 700. Over and over and over again. Same thing every freaking day. They sell it off in the morning, they buy the dip and rocket every freaking day. It's the easiest thing in the world to trade. The easiest environment in the world to take advantage of is this right here, baby. All you have to do is buy the dip. Just wait and buy the dip. That's it. All you got to do is buy the dip. Wait to buy the dip. Play one side of the trade. That is it. That is it. Forget shorting and longing and shorting. You only buy the dip. That is it. Nice, Deacon. Well done, buddy. The TPT reset now $200. The reset fee is based on your evaluation. Yeah, based on your evaluation size. Love it. Love it. Still going, baby. Still going. Buy the dip. Buy the dip. No shorting. Buy the dip. Love it. Still going. Trying to get a pullback to enter, but we just no. I'm telling you, man. That was too big of a sell too fast with the S&P rocketing. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get a pullback. You're going to get straight ripping into Terra, baby. At least not. I mean, now we're coming up to the high, so we probably will get a little top tick. But up until that point, it's just straight up, you straight up, all the way up, baby, straight up. Buy the dip. No shorting. How many times must we do this? How many times must we do this? Well done, Deacon. 200 points from the bottom. Fantastic. Well done. Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Still going. Blast off. That is 230 points from the lows, baby, and we're going. And we're going. All the way up, coming up to new highs. Man, I need Lee to have his own call out channel. Just absolutely killing it every day. I love it. I love it. Blowing it out of the water every trick. I love it. What did Euro change? I don't actually know. It started doing that thing again today. So I need to talk to him again. Massive call buying here coming up. 600 million calls, purchase, baby. We're going. Coming up to 700, straight up. This is a perfect V. This is OPEX day, so they're doing a lot of crazy stuff. You know, still going. Blast off, baby, blast off. Straight freaking up, man. No shorting whatsoever. Buy the dip. No shorting whatsoever. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. This is unfreaking believable. Now we're going to the new high again at 683. That is a legit V. There was no consolidation there whatsoever. It just bottom wicked and then boom. No volume whatsoever. It was not a high volume spike in any facet whatsoever. But it just pivoted and it rocketed all the way up, baby. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Gold's still going too, baby. I warned you all about gold. I warned you all about gold. Coming all the way up, baby. It's the easiest $25 you'll ever spend, baby. I'm going to the server. $25 for tier 1. Better call outs and better indication than anybody in the business. Some would say the best call outs. Still going NASDAQ. Once it takes out 680, it's going to 900 all the way up. All the way up. Look at this. Straight freaking up. Straight. How many people are getting destroyed shorting? How many people are getting destroyed shorting? How many people just bull accounts trying to short the exact lows only to buy the dip and go? Unbelievable. Only long and baby. Still going. Still going. Calls are screaming. They just put on $1.4 billion worth of calls. $1.4 billion worth of calls. And it's still going. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. What's my macro thesis? Macro thesis is, it appears on the macro chart that we are looking into switching from the distribution phase. It does appear that way. It does appear that way. But we need a close. We need a close. If they completely engulf today's green, then I mean we're back to the drawing board here. But when you're entering such a long, I mean, we're in a 2-month distribution now. I mean, the accounts have been dead flat. The charts have been dead flat now for 2 months. It's very, very difficult to pinpoint when the market's going to leave that when it enters that long of a distribution. I mean, we did remember last year we did it like 6 months. We were in that choppy phase, and we only reached like hit below it by a freaking, 2 days, I think we were outside of the range before we bought back in the range. So. All right, the smallest of top wicks with a little bit of volume. The smallest of top wicks with a little bit of volume. That is it. Squeezing, baby. Look at that. Squeezing. Squeezing. Instant bottom wick still going, baby. 760 and freaking going. No shorting, straight freaking up. The easiest money you'll ever have in your life. The easiest money you will ever make in your life is to buy the freaking dip. Buy it up, baby. Stop shorting the market and just buy the dip, baby. Squeezing everybody and their mom is trying to short this market right now. Everybody, I guarantee you, every single Discord out there is telling their people to short right now. Every single one of them, because of what happened this morning. They were FOMOing in the short positions, and now we're up almost 400 points from the lows, baby. All the way up. All the way up. Buy the dip, baby. No shorting. 775 we're going. Boom. Still going. Incredible. Boom. Incredible, dude. Absolutely incredible. Look at this. This is an OPEC squeeze. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Boom. Unbelievable. Would we please get a pullback? No, sir, you cannot. No real, I did not buy the dip because no real V spike, as you pointed out. That's the first criteria as a novice should be strictly. If you're a novice, yes, you need to learn to really hunker down on that stuff. Yes. Refuse to FOMO. I'm sitting pretty in gold right now. I'm happy about it. Yeah. A 400-point instant reversal on NASDAQ. 400-point instant reversal on NASDAQ. Crushing the souls of everybody. Crushing the souls of everybody who tried to short the market. Beautiful stuff all the way up. Good morning, Richard. What's up? How you doing? I applied your strategy from yesterday and I'm slowly coming back. My method is 100 profit at a time, 2 to 4 contracts. Still refilling with a stop loss and taking profit. Nice. Well done, Richard. Good stuff. Do I think the NASDAQ will get new all-time highs this year? I don't know. I don't know. Amazing stuff. Still going. Not a single top wick to sell. Only long, baby. Until you get a lower low, do not close long positions. This is one of those OPEX days where we could go. Remember conditions. Remember conditions. Remember conditions. Remember conditions. This is not a normal day. This is OPEX day, and they've already tipped their hand that they're doing crazy stuff. And when they do crazy stuff, you've got to see if they'll let you be a part of that crazy stuff. This is not a normal day. This is OPEX, which means theoretically they could undo the entire week of red. They can undo every dime of red today because it's OPEX. If they do that, you want to be a part of that. You want to be a part of that. Let your positions eat. You've already paid for the ticket. You already paid for the entry into the Golden Corral. Now you get to go to the buffet and eat. We're still going, baby. 790. We're still going, baby. 790. Straight up. No shorting. Straight up, baby. No shorting. Look at this. Straight up. All the way up, baby. Make all the money you want. Make all the money you want. Securing 5 payouts in a row, baby. 400-point bounce all the way up. I just ate a Golden Corral yesterday. No, not what I remember. Dude, nothing is what I remembered. 95% of all experiences of eating out is absolutely atrociously awful. Not just bad, but atrocious. There's only a very few select spots that will even consider going out to eat anymore because it's just terrible. Not to mention you're paying an insane price for extremely crappy food. Most of the food I buy, I wouldn't even feed to my dog, and I don't even have a dog, and I still wouldn't feed it to. That's how they do OPEX, man. They provide extreme fear by a 400-point dump, and then they rocket it down your throat and undo the entire week in one session. In one session. I wish Canada would get their wildfires under control. There's some pretty nasty footage coming out about those wildfires. If you had a runner left from 28.5, where would you place your stop? 720, 700. I place it at 700. 700. The air quality here has been awful. Yeah. Still going, baby. Still going. Still going. Straight up. No shorting. Do not short. 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 Have you noticed two different themes the past 2 days? Or I mean, heck, every day. Have you noticed? Didn't take a short position yesterday. Didn't take a short position today. I'm not chasing the short moves. I only buy the dip. I only buy the dip. Thanks, OM, and everyone locked out. This is the best server, period. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you, buddy. Welcome being here. Appreciate you being here. If they wanted to undo this again, could they? Sure, they could. It's OPEX. They could do anything. OPEX days are crazy. OPEX days are crazy. There's 481 active fires in my province, 380 last year, 10 year national average. Oh, man. It's great. Still going. New high of the day. NASDAQ is straight up, baby. Straight up. Blue Angel pilots were cleared, not a court martial. Yeah, it's probably a bad move. I think that was probably influenced by headset if I had to guess. You can't make that kind of, I mean, that's, people don't understand how easy that could have been a catastrophe. There's a reason why there's minimums. There's a reason why that we're the best Air Force in the world is because we have extreme discipline, because we do not allow that kind of stuff. So massive green straight up, baby. No shorting. Look at this. This is extraordinary. There's not a single top wick that closed lower on the 5 minute. It's all up and away. So your trailing stop should be climbing higher. Right now that we broke higher, you move your trailing stop up. I told you all that you set your trailing stop at 700. Now, in my opinion, it needs to be about 780. And then leave it there until we break the next level, which is about 900. This is extraordinary. This is a game-changing, extraordinary move. OPEX, all the way up. All the way up, baby. That is it. Without the volume spike, who would have prompted a long entry? I caught the short this morning, would have loved the long as well. Well, when you don't get a high volume spike, it doesn't get you in the early entry. That's the key there. When I see the incredibly high volume spike, I don't like yesterday, for example, I nearly caught the exact bottom because we had a volume spike, we had an aggressive clear wick. Didn't quite set up the same way today, but still, once you see the momentum building, you have to make a decision. In my mind, today's OPEX, we had a very red session. We had we had a very quick, too much, too fast move out of the gate. Not the overnight session, but that was a 400 point quickly out of the gate. I don't like it when if you're taking notes and you like to mark conditions. If they dump it that far, that hard out of the gate, that's a huge red flag for me in terms of trying to be a bear. When I see 400 points straight out of the gate like that, they're going to set you up for a bounce. You just don't know how far they're going to bounce in the afternoon, late morning, and you have to play that. So that's one thing going through my head there. And then once they clear the high and start building momentum, and you start to see the S&P divergence, which we talked about many times, the S&P was going to new highs while NASDAQ was going down. So which one was going to catch up? And then wait for that signal. Now we know the NASDAQ is catching up to the S&P, not the other way around. In a market which is predominantly green, this entire market is very, very green, except for tech. And now we know. SanDisk just completely reversed all their red, and we did as well. And off to the races. Except the chat notes that are patent. Now, this is just an OPEX move. This is an OPEX option squeeze after this whole month and week of just downtrending. And they just blew through 400 points, 450 points in no time. Must have reversed it again. I mean, you can't write anything off on OPEX day. You can't write anything off on OPEX day. I just saw my badge. Though I've been here since 21, I was a freeloader for 3 years. Uh-oh. Yeah, I can't reward freeloading. Crazy stuff. Incredible bull rally. Love the stream. Thanks, Eamon. Appreciate you. Love it. Nice job. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. Not a fan of shorting, man. It's just low probability. Not conducive to success. It's so, I mean, it's just so incredibly easy to sit here and wait for a long opportunity. Instead of worrying about shorting and longing, if you're going to be a bear, here's nothing. If you're going to be a bear and short, then you need to make the decision to only short. Not long, short. You only short. You only wait for the opportunity to short, and that is it. If you're going to be a bull, you only wait for the opportunity. Now that's on the indexes. That's not considering everything else, because not everything else is as relentlessly bullish as the indices. Patience is called patience. Yes. That's an unfortunate typo. I only long now. I found a 90% loss rate when shorting and a 60% win rate. So the second up. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Like, I'm not being obtuse here. But I mean, look, how many people just try to short that top wick? Instant engulfing green candle. I mean, I'm telling you, what Celsius just said is exactly what I experience in my DMs. When y'all come to me for help in my DMs, hey, I'm struggling. What do I do? All right. What's your trade log like? How often are you shorting? What are your most trades losing look like? Well, I was short on the green day. Well, I try to reverse green days. My mom gave me my lunch money and I blew it on a short position. Stop shorting the market. I haven't taken a single short position in 2 days, 3 days on the S&P and NASDAQ. Now, like I said, short other stuff, whatever. Do your thing, but on the S and NASDAQ, man. It's amazing. Here we go. Oh, yeah. I am giving tier 2 just gold, absolute gold. Absolute gold. You'll go in NASDAQ on up. What's up, Bojo? How you doing? 100 freaking %? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I use Claude to make a custom trading app. I use Claude to analyze trades. In addition to no shorting, I found AM sessions way outperform the PM sessions. I use Claude. Absolutely. I agree with all that, Kraken. Let's release the Kraken, man. What's up? I've been here for 4 years, and it's just in the last 6 months I finally took consistently weekly payouts with the exception of the last 4 weeks. It was emotional drain with my daughter. I don't know. Well, I'm glad she's doing well. I know you have been here for a while. One of the more consistent messages
here to get back to value area.
Your patronage in the community. I wish you well on the family. What kind of gold am I given? Thinking about tier 2 and you're teasing me with a good time. Signals for longer term trades. So I don't do many scalp positions in tier 2. I'm getting into posting more swing trades. I'm using Claude to help me do that. I'm building a lot of tools, videos, weekly briefs, macro levels, weekly analysis, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, sir. I want to pull back so bad. No. The market will not deal here. Like today's OPEX, man, this is one of those things you've got to understand in your trading. So if you have a trading log or a trading journal or whatever, write down OPEX days as one of the main things to learn. So there's a lot of stuff in terms of market awareness. Being market aware is definitely a part of the system. Having a watch list that, like me, the litmus test of the market is part of the system. Understanding divergences and why, when, how is part of the system. OPEX days are part of the system. And today was an OPEX day. Craziness, shenanigans about it.
Right.
Craziness about
Come back. No. Get back down to value here.
Daily payouts. Do you know what it's like to have a prop firm that gives you unrestricted, no cap daily payouts?
Here.
It takes away the nonsense of Top Step, where Top Step after my payouts. I could take out as much as I want. It's amazing. If you want a prop firm, go do it. You know what I need to do? I don't think the wife will sign off on this. You know what I need to do? Take every dime I make with prop firms this year for the rest of the year and place them into my BPR. And then in December, I take all that money and put it on one single 0 DT SPX trade. Prop firm lotto, baby. That'll be the name of the video. Amazing.
Trying to get back to value.
Maybe you have. I found TPT because of you. Super
Come back to value.
Appreciate you. 1 minute bull flags work so well on a strong trend day.
No.
Yes, sir, they do.
Can I get back to value?
Wife would sign off on it anyway. It has to be a month. Does gold look like it'll keep going? Let's go take a look at gold.
I want to buy from this year.
Yeah, I don't like that pattern. We called the 3C here at the bottom at 39.75. Still going. We have a couple of top wicks. Of course, we kind of have this little wedgie look going, which I don't trust the wedges in terms of accuracy, but a going size of high volume top wicks is not a good indication of downturn. So we have a high volume top wick here, we have a high volume top wick here, we have a high volume top wick here. That's usually a sign of distribution for a break back down to retest about 39.84. So, not to mention we're already rejecting all of this crap here. So they have a little bit of roadblock to get through. You're welcome, Higher Trades. So with TPT, I thought there was no activation fees. Yeah, so when you go to activate your funded account, after you pass your evaluation, go to the payment screen and go to the bottom and you'll see an activation fee. As long as you use the discount code of OMTPT, if you look to the bottom, you'll see an activation credit. You select the credit, you don't pay with your credit card. You better add. Good stuff. A pollution expert says that spending a full day in New York City wildfire smoke is equivalent to smoking 10 cigarettes. Detroit is now experiencing the worst air quality in the world right now. You shot at 83 today? Nice. One more stroke and you'll get down to my all-time best score. We finally going to get a pullback? Bet you do, Dan. Bet you do. What was our highest volume candle at 1017? Highest volume candle at 1017 here. That was a decent volume, high-ish volume top wick, yes. So will we get a pullback? Maybe. I mean, I'm sure they got to have a pullback a little bit eventually, but I mean, do you really want to short on the market like this? You're playing with fire, man. You're playing with Canadian wildfire when you try to short this type of price action. There are days, though, you could put on, you know, a confident short position, but this is not it, man. Look at this. I mean, you're going to get demolished, steamroller. This has the look where it can kind of all the way up. It's wild up here near the border. I'm telling you, everywhere else is still like a campfire. That's crazy, dude. Crazy. When I was driving home, I blared on the speakers. Your voice was breathing heavy, so I finally dip. Dude, how early did you get up to wake up and already shoot an 83? It's like 7 o'clock this morning. It's my first time buying a TPT and I passed it. Nice, Arctic. Now, I'm telling you, man, you've just done the hard work. You passed your evaluation on Take Profit Trader and it's about to get so good. Take Profit Trader with daily payouts. All you have to do is just take it easy, nice and slow. Get through that buffer and you could start raking in. You have 1 or 2 good weeks. You can literally change your year on 1 or 2 good weeks with Take Profit Trader. 1 or 2 good weeks. You go on a winning streak and you can make all the money you want for the year and use that money to pad your account, take it easy and relax a little bit. Do it. Do it. You don't mess around when it comes to the island. Never underestimate the addiction to golf. Yeah. This does look like a possible top tick pattern on NASDAQ, although I wouldn't recommend shorting a price action like this. Yeah, it took a family to break my addiction, man. I loved golf. I was more completely consumed with golf. But once running a business with family and kids, it's been that broke the addiction. Most guys ignore wives and destroy their marriages over golf. I love it. You know, golf is amazing. Great sport. Live in a retirement area here on the east coast of North Carolina. There's a golf course every 10 miles. Oh, I bet, dude.
Try again here to get to value. Get back to value.
Golf's a great workout if you walk the course. Yep. We look like we're putting in a bit of a small micro distribution area for a small top tape. But again, I'm not condoning shorts today. Not yet, at least. Today's OPEX, we could have a crazy reversal and dump it all this afternoon. I can see that possibility. But you certainly don't want to front run that until you see the signs. Leave the runner, set a stop, enjoy the weather. Yeah, buddy. I gotta say, man, this summertime has been pretty awesome in terms of heat. Usually July, August is my least two favorite months of the year because it's like walking out on the sun. I feel like my house is like living on the sun. But the past couple of weeks has been beautiful. Yesterday I took a 10-minute nap out on the porch. It was beautiful. Like 85 degrees. Great. Great to think we are 400 points down even after that. But yeah, I mean, it shows you how aggressive the move was at the open.
See, we can't come back down from here. And I don't think we'll come down. So we can't get down from here. It's just gonna pivot right back up. With the spine.
There's so much to fun about quad. We go coming down. It's only been an hour. You're in Volcano National Park, Baltic. Time for you to be the #1 quad channel on YouTube. Dude, I'd love to do that. I don't know if I need another trade here, though. I certainly don't want a short, although I'm sure we'll have a pullback or something. I just don't want to put on a short position. It's Friday, baby. Goal is extraordinary.
Yeah, doesn't look like it can. We cannot get back to value. Oh, maybe it is going.
Imagine your children being professionals out by their teens, these self-made millionaires in their 20s. Yeah. Is this an official top ticker bear trap? This is an official 3C short indication. This is triggering a 3C short. However, I cannot advise you all to short this market. It's too crazy. It's on OPEX day. So y'all short at your own desire, but not me. Not me. Are there any news trading rules with TPT Pro? With the Pro account, yeah, you can't trade the 3 big news events, which is CPI, NFP, non-farm payroll, and FOMC. But it's only 1 minute before and 1 minute after. So you don't need to be trading those anyway, but those are gambles. But yeah, you have to wait until 1 minute after the news posts. What is OPEX? That is the monthly options expirations of the monthly contracts. Yes. It's every month about smack dab in the middle of that. All right, Nat.
Didn't hold it. It went. It went back to value. Would hit the profit target.
There's your 3C trigger short. You see what I mean by the 3 C's, man? All you got to do is follow 3 C's. That's it.